If there's 100 other plausible explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy.
Hey everybody, my name is Carson. Welcome back to Teleos Tribune, and today we're going to break down all the juicy bits from the Andrew Wilson, Candace Owens debate. Do me a favor, I'm a really small channel. I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm a Roman Catholic, Christian conservative. I'm also a recovering addict. We're going to talk philosophy, conservative politics, debates. We're going to talk about the Bible. So please, come along with me. Help me grow. Motivate me to keep making videos.
How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts, okay? It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Plausible somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally...
That's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
Is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people...
She concedes yes. I think that's the reason why.
People are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other plausible explanations,
so if there's 100 other plausible explanations,
in Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there.
No. Oh no, she's not saying we should go with the idea it was a patsy.
Is there equally
that's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other plausible explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy.
I'm not saying we should go with the idea it was a patsy.
I don't think the Candace Owens fans actually understand that the debate just ended right there.
Yeah, she had nothing. Just nothing. For all of her claims of patsy, nothing. She didn't have a single claim. She didn't have a single solid piece of evidence. She had no positive evidence Israel's involved in anything. No positive evidence that France is involved in anything. No positive evidence TPUSA is involved in anything. No positive evidence that Erika Kirk is involved in anything. When I ask her about her claims about Erika Kirk, yeah, it's just funning. It's just funning, you know? Or, yeah, I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, but or answer some questions. But you know what? I don't even know if she has. Like, maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. If that's good enough for the state, it's good enough for me. But my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine. On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this more than anything else was to just demonstrate one thing. Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am, and never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all. None. Zero. And the continuous kind of expression, we're running an investigation. What kind of investigation builds a timeline out on a receipt that they don't even confirm? What kind of investigation tries to make these bold claims that Israel's involved and France is involved and all these different players are involved and never shows any evidence? We're just asking questions. It's again, like I said in my opening, it's always intuition, my feelings, how I feel about things, how I think about things. Andrew, how many times did you hear this today? Andrew, you can't tell me how I'm supposed to think. Yeah, nobody's trying to tell you how to think. But you should rationally come to your conclusions based on evidence and facts. And the truth is that 90% of what you're saying is simply intuition based. It came to me in a dream. It's intuition. Almost none of it has any evidence at all. Just, I'm skeptical because these people over here said things, and that makes me skeptical. It's like, but no evidence. Note this to the audience, to everybody watching. You might hate my guts. That's fair enough. I get that. I'm not the most likable man. I understand that too. But there was nothing. I mean, no evidence at all that Tyler Robinson was a patsy that was ever put forward by Candace this entire debate. Now, maybe you could say that we stalemated when it came to whether or not Robinson did it. She says, I found the evidence convincing, or unconvincing. Andrew says he found the evidence convincing. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you can't do too much about that, but there was nothing. She had nothing for Robinson being a patsy, nothing for any of her conspiracies, not a zero, zilch, and she backed away on a bunch of them. This is the first time I think she's ever really backed away from the Twigs thing. First time I've heard her back away from the Erika thing, back away from TPUSA, being very cautious about making any of those claims now, whereas on her show, much more likely to be making those claims. So she just had nothing the entire debate. You have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give me...
Yes, we can pull up the clip. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk.
Wait a second. You can't say that Israel was involved at all? Do you know what we can say, Candace? That Tyler Robinson confessed to doing it. We can say that his tranny boyfriend gave a testimony saying that he provided the tools which etched the, hey fascist catch into the bullets. We can say that his DNA was on the weapon that killed Charlie Kirk. We can say so many things that actually tie Robinson to the crime. Whereas everything you do, you're just vibing it out. Just all vibes.
I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half pepper
But the question I'm
questions and
asking is
tell me-
about positive evidence.
You don't get to ask questions that expose me for the giant grifting piece of crap that I am. How dare you?
Telling you that in any case, establishing a motive and and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid, not even that. It's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then
loved
other
Israel.
than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary. He was quite busy. The phone.
Yeah, so this is what Candace fans do, right? They take an oddity or something that they deem to be weird or out of place or whatever, and that thing that they deem as weird, that they call, the evidence, right, could be explained by a million different other things. And then what they do is they take that oddity or weird thing and then tie it to a conclusion that just literally logically doesn't follow. Like 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. It's like, okay, well, but I mean, literally that could be explained by a million things, right? So they always go a conclusion too far. It's just, it's insanity. I actually don't think that these people understand the definition of verifiable evidence.
Call that happened, which no one wants to discuss, in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior. I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But we cannot say for certainty that Israel called the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to see
there's no
pulled.
positive evidence.
Whatever you want to say, however, positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well,
I
like positive
I can
evidence
just
would
have
be
a conversation.
material evidence and other evidences which would
what
point
we've
you
said
to it.
is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right. So,
Do you have any evidence that Erika Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk. So how could I say that I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Okay. So then you don't believe that they did?
I never have said that statement, so I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also
Involvement.
now have-
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence, you think that
Yeah, I think
that
Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel.
Yeah.
So that was Candace making a claim. Okay. And the problem with that is, I mean, she can have opinions on this, that's fine. But the problem is that there's actually no evidence that she can point to, a logical chain of reasoning that actually tie Israel or France to the killing. That is the problem here.
I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day.
Yeah, so right here she's saying that her source, right? Her hearsay is trustworthy. What makes her sources so trustworthy and the states, the authorities are not trustworthy?
Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not
But
the
you
United
don't have
States
any
government.
positive evidence of that.
Okay.
Right?
Liz, I don't. Can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you, yes, I think they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right
think-
to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's
I said,
positive evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said I think, and I am allowed to think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed to
saying,
think,
do you have
but you're
positive
making a
evidence?
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay. So,
Nobody's disputing whether or not
yeah, but
Candace
like
Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is
but
you have
what's your issue then?
positive
What is your issue with the statement?
evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
That's
I
not
do.
what. That's not just what you said. You said
I did
that
say I
it's
think.
with full confidence.
Yes.
You
That
would
I
think
mis-
that if you had full
Can you have confidence
confidence
to think when you think?
If I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right, with full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew,
That's how you would know whether or not you had full
I'm just gonna
confidence.
tell you something.
Hang
My
on,
sis-
let me finish.
Sure.
Let me finish. If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right, and I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence.
The answer is she doesn't have any. I actually don't even think she understands what Andrew is trying to explain to her. This is what he means when he's asking for evidence of the thing, right? The evidence that she just doesn't have. We all know she doesn't have it, but
Or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with
I actually
evidence.
don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do. I'm
They're
allowed to think
pertinent to this debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this debate.
100% pertinent.
It's not pertinent because our debate
These are claims made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete substance of the debate. So I have a brief opening statement. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over, from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media, destruction of memorials, and things like this. Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died. What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was our own government one of them? Because this was the first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime, the demand for answers was severe and palpable. The leading theory from the conspiracy verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or two of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence, that in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence, they seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate, and so let's get to it. The debate topic today is 1, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and 2, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far, and Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as the trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case, and I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim that there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson's overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this.
Right. She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5+ prints. And among those 5+ prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded. So I would like you to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5+ other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all three of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing a rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay. You think there could be debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Okay.
Not only that, he left it in a forest. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but if you leave a rifle in a wooded area, it's also possible that debris could get in that way. But I'm not even sure that that's what the case is. I think it's far more likely that he fired the shot, it just didn't blow all the debris out, and it often doesn't. You'll find this if you take Grandpappy's dirty rifle and it's all dusty inside the bore and you go fire it, you'll often look down the bore and there's still dust.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay. And the prints?
Yeah, so the prints, we don't know all of the details on just yet.
We do. It was excruciatingly long testimony on the prints.
We don't, because they haven't gone to trial, so we don't know on the print front. But Tyler Robinson's DNA was on there. You made the claim that Lance Twig's DNA was on there, and it was not.
Well, when she gave the testimony, no, hold on. First, let's go to your first point, because that's wrong. We can get a fact check on that. What do you mean we don't know until it goes to trial about the degraded prints? She testified, and this is the person who took the prints.
Yes, but the problem is that inside of this particular testimony, you agree with me that there's going to be much more of the DNA analysis in the trial, right?
But you also would agree that her fact is not going to change, that among the prints, his was the most degraded. So I'm asking you to address that. How could that be possible?
Let's give it, let's just grant this for a second as a possibility that his fingerprints were degraded.
It's not a possibility. It's a fact. The person who took
hang
it.
on. I'm just granting it for the sake of argument.
You should grant it because it's a fact that she presented.
So now it's granted. So what?
What do you mean, so what?
Yeah, so what? What does that prove?
It proves that if his prints were the most degraded amongst 5 of them, you're going to have to explain how that's possible if he's the one that recently fired the weapon.
Yeah, so wait a second. You're saying that it's an impossibility that if his fingerprints are the most degraded,
I'm telling you to explain it. You're the gunsmith.
Well,
so
wait a
explain
second. How would a gunsmith give an analysis on fingerprints or DNA? Do you think that I work in a DNA laboratory
So
with
your
fingerprints?
answer is I don't know. You can just say you don't know.
But
you don't
did.
have to.
But I did.
No, you said so what? So
Yeah,
say,
so-
I don't know. I
but what
actually
would
don't
that-
have an
what
explanation
would that
for that,
prove,
Candace.
though, is my question.
Well, I think that what it would prove is that it is a more viable theory that people who had stronger prints on the gun may have used it more recently.
Did they say who else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly.
Okay.
And this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples of elimination samples from the home of Amber Robinson, Matt Robinson, and Lance Twiggs. Those were the 3 names they named.
So are you saying that Twig's
Would you like me to
fingerprints-
finish my statement?
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
I'm trying to finish the answer, but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
This was a portion of her testimony where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, some of them, so we can assume 2 out of the 3, were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst, I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what. It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim that there is evidence that he was set up as a patsy.
That wouldn't prove anything about him being a patsy.
It said it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up as a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case, this doesn't have an explanation for it yet. That doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off, right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy. Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson. It could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know, like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if we're having those conversations and they told me that that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great-grandfather's gun.
Okay.
I don't remember the difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so he got it because he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
You don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the patsy part?
That is actually hilarious. All he's done the entire debate is allow her to speak so much. All she's done is just yap, ramble, filibuster, run away. Another thing, kind of just how I feel, my intuition about this, though, and I think I'm actually right about it, though, is that Candace seems like the person that would just kind of shut down if Andrew were to actually go as hard as he wanted to, or like as hard as we know that he can go. Because trust me, the gloves were on in this debate for Andrew. There's no doubt about that. And it seems like Candace is the type of person. I just have a vibe about it. I just have this feeling about her that like she just, I don't know. It's weird to me. Like I don't know, but she seems like the person that would shut down and just say, okay, I'm done. We're not talking anymore. Like I'm not debating anymore. We're not doing this. Just seems like she'd do some shit like that.
Okay,
if I can't get to the end of the
I'll wait
sentence.
patiently till we get to
So
the
that
patsy
could be a
part.
reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints, and that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into various
But it
places.
also could demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture.
No,
This is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, well, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
I didn't say must be
Describe
patsy.
how this actually links in to Robinson being a patsy.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, so I'm going to move on from that. But to just go back to your point about this is not evidence, you can't make that claim because the entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I am doing. This is the state.
Yap.
There was some PR there. Sure, they could have done better. Absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erika Kirk or Erika actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything I've said is on my podcast. I think firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and I would ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
Okay,
So
what does
using a
that
hypothetical,
Does that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack as just one example. They gave back the backpack. They gave back the.
That doesn't show a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
They ruled them out as suspects.
That quickly. I'm not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's a $100 million incentive. People, this is
what $100 million incentive?
What I'm saying is his organization, like it had grown to, I think it was 100
plus per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's something you want to back
yeah,
up,
but what was
Your team wants to play video, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
There's a video they want to play of Candace said it's impossible to not believe Erika's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
Could also just ask
and so right now their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, yes, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it. That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erika Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because what?
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erika Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's just say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
I didn't say complicit in death. You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence to come in and
tell
debate.
me,
So
what
now
does
you're
that mean?
chopping
What
it
does
up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erika, when she is asked, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this? And she says, I do. Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erika for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, this is why I did not engage in any like Erika, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know. This is why I did not engage in any like Erika, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird. I always try to stay away from the pettier things about Erika that don't register as right, but I just go, okay, it's a little too petty. People talk about her outfits, wearing the glitter pants and things like that. Yeah, it does kind of build a profile of somebody. I personally just say that I think her stylist is just deeply dislikes her, whoever it is, deeply dislikes. It feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. That's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Complicit in what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that. But my point being is that
Look, we all know that Candace has been insinuating and denigrating everything Charlie Kirk spent his entire life doing and building, his entire legacy. She's been doing this to his family and everybody else that he held close to him. I just don't buy the idea that Charlie was just such a moron that he chose the worst of friends. His picker was just so bad when he chose Erika to be his wife. Everybody has things that they probably regret in their past, but the standard of evidence and standard of proof that Candace is using here is absurd. Every time Andrew Wilson tried to pin Candace Owens down, she would ramble and yap and basically filibuster. Ben Shapiro said that Candace Owens is like an IQ test, and I actually do think that might be the case. Like, if you are on Candace's side here, it's also likely you might just be dumb, which is sad. If you made it to the end, you are awesome. I love you. God bless you. Get on your knees and pray tonight. Jesus loves you. Jesus wants to hear from you. Please consider liking and subscribing. I'm a very small channel, and I want to keep doing this. I want to keep learning. God bless Charlie Kirk and his family, and I'll give it to Candace, one of the greatest grifts of all time. See you in the next one.